Dynamic Workload Console, how to configure console settings. In this video, you learn how to configure settings for user preferences, configured tasks, engine connections, and how to save settings to either an XML file or to a DB2 database, and how to export settings to share with other environments or as a backup. After installing Dynamic Workload Console, a global settings file is created. The file is organized into several sections that group similar properties. Sections can be repeated multiple times in the same file and applied differently to different user roles. Customize and uncomment the sections in the file to apply the settings. Examples of some of the settings that can be configured in this file are the maximum number of objects shown in the graphical views, the maximum number of objects retrieved by a query, the number of rows to display in a table, and the number of monitoring queries to maintain in history, and many others. On the console, in the search text box, we type a keyword like settings to locate and open the Manage Settings page. Here, we can click Export Settings to produce a file in XML format containing the settings of the current instance of the Dynamic Workload Console. You can export the content of your settings repository as an XML file and then re-import it into the same or another instance of the Dynamic Workload Console. The file is divided into sections. Each section contains one or more configuration properties. To apply the properties defined in the section, you customize the default values for the properties and then uncomment the section. In order to make your changes effective in the environment, restart the Dynamic Workload Console. You can also import a settings file to replicate the settings from one environment to another. Or if you exported your settings file previously for backup measures, you can import the settings when needed. Browse to the XML file containing the settings that you want to import, and then restart the Dynamic Workload Console to make the new settings effective. You can choose to save the Dynamic Workload Console settings in a local file or in a database. Your settings are saved in a file local to the current Dynamic Workload Console instance. This is the default choice. However, you can decide to have your settings repository on a database for all Dynamic Workload Console operations that involve user settings. You must configure the database connection properties and create a data source on the Dynamic Workload Console. This can be useful, for example, for scalability purposes, or to have multiple Dynamic Workload Console instances sharing the same user settings.